Hi guys, welcome back to Urban Rhino Tutorials. On this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make a beaded stone cord wrapped bracelet. So in this tutorial, we're going to be using a couple different materials. So 1 millimeter cotton waxed cord or leather cord. And then we're going to be using these beads that kind of look like little stones. You can really use any beads that you want that are smaller. I wouldn't go any larger than about 6 millimeters, potentially up to 8 millimeters, or you're gonna get too big on the bracelet part of it. So what we will be doing today is taking our stone beads and putting them on the cord, and then we're going to do this kind of wraparound weaving technique so that it secures the beads in place, so they're kind of in a little zigzag pattern with a larger stone connector in the middle. And then it will also be finished off with a slider clasp. So I've obviously already have one side done, and if you have purchased or are planning on purchasing the kit on our website, which is the complete kit to create this entire bracelet, you'll have the option of the hardware color of your stone, so if you want it to be gold or silver, as well as your cord color, and then you'll get kind of like a mix of the beads. So to begin, you will have a measuring tape, and you're going to, if I can find where it starts here, you're going to measure out two 24-inch or 2-foot pieces of the cord. So, and normally you will actually do double this, but this is the amount that you will need to do one side of it. So you can do one side and then move on to the other, or you can go ahead and cut all of your cord to begin with. So if you're trying to cut enough to do the whole bracelet, you're actually going to cut 4 24-inch pieces. And they're going to be wrapped or looped in half. So here's one. And 2, and again, if you're doing, starting from the beginning, doing all of it at one time, you're gonna create or cut 4 24-inch pieces of the cord. I'm only doing 2 because I've already got the one side complete here. So what we're gonna be doing, let me move that out of the way, is folding the cord in half, and we want to connect it to the stone connector here. And so I'm going to loop it through the little metal loop that's on here. So right through there. And to do this in a nice way so that it's nice and clean and you don't have any weird, little ends sticking out, if you fold it in half and stick the loop through like that. So I put it through the metal loop of the little connector, and then reach through your loop and grab your 2 ends like this and pull them through. And then when you pull it, it's just going to make a nice little knot for you like that. And then you're going to take your second piece and repeat that with one extra step. So again, I have folded my cord in half. I'm going to take the loop part here, and I'm going to stick it, and you want to kind of hold the other cord that's already on there out of the way so you have room to put this through that loop. You want to stick it through the little hole, and if you have a little trouble putting it through there, you can always use a needle or something to kind of poke it through, which is actually what I'm gonna do. Okay, so again, I'm holding the cord out of the way that's already on there. I'm trying to get this little loop through here, and you can use, there we go, a needle. I have a pin, like a sewing pin here, a bobby pin, a pair of pliers, anything like that, just to get that through. Okay, so let me get turned back around here. So I have my loop through here. I'm gonna open that loop and put my fingers through there, and this time I'm gonna grab all 4 pieces and pull them through. And your 2 that are shorter are what you're actually gonna be pulling on to make that kind of knot there. So now I have all 4 pieces, well, there are 2 that are folded over, but now I have 4 strands sticking out from my loop here. So I'm ready to begin with the beads. You will have a little black clip like this included, and I would use it to secure your bracelet to some kind of a board. I'm just using like a scrap piece of chipboard here. It will just help so that it's not sliding all over the place. Okay, so what we're gonna do is you want to look at your strands and find the 2 that look like they're most in the center. There's no really right or wrong on this. Just pick the 2 that look to be the 2 center pieces and pull your other 2 out of the way, and you're gonna load these up with your beads. I will tell you that when you put your beads on these, it is very hard to find beads that have a hole big enough to go over the cord without the bead itself being really large. So you may notice that after putting 3 or 4 beads on, the end of your cord is starting to fray a little bit, and that's no big deal. We actually allow for that and make these pieces a little longer than what you need, so you're able to trim it a little bit. So I will most likely get to that point, and I'll show you what we do. So we're gonna put 5 beads on each of the middle strands. If you feel like your wrist is a little smaller than average, I would do 4. If you feel like it's a little bigger, I would do 6. You will have the slider clasp, so it will allow for your bracelet to be adjusted the size, so that will help. So I'm just sliding the beads on, again 5 on each side, and then I'm gonna do 5 on this one. So these are the middle strands. You could also use rocaille beads, like 4mm rocaille beads on these if you wanted. Even though those beads are smaller, the holes are actually a little bigger. Okay. And I've got 2 more. And these are going to alternate, so you might think about that when you're choosing your colors. I'll show you what I mean here. So, and I lucked out. None of them on those that I just slid on had any issues with fraying the cord. But like I said, if you're trying to put one on and it's just not going, just trim your cord just a little bit, you know, like maybe a 1/4 of an inch with some sharp scissors, and try that. If you're still having trouble with one of them, just skip that bead and try to move on to another one. You should have plenty of extra. If you are purchasing the kit, you should have plenty of extra. Okay, so what I was referring to about the alternating is this strand of beads is going to be on this side. This strand will be on this side, just like we have here on this finished side. And you can see how they kind of zigzag. So if you want to do one color here and one color here, I've seen this done for like the 4th of July where someone did red beads here, blue beads here, and they did white string, which was actually pretty cute. So if you want to do that, this is the time where you would alternate your bead colors. So what we're gonna do, I'm trying to make sure I'm in the frame here, is we are going to slide these beads up and kind of alternate them. And when I was first teaching myself how to do this bracelet, I saw a picture of one and I thought it was really cute, and I spent seriously hours trying to figure out how it was done, and then the last try I realized it was way easier than what I thought. I was trying to make it into a much more difficult bracelet than it needed to be. So this one is pretty simple, and I'm glad that it doesn't take pliers. A lot of times people like to do projects, but they don't want to make the investment of purchasing a set of pliers. So, okay, so now that I have my beads just kind of slid up into place and they're alternating, they don't have to be perfect. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to start with, we'll start with this, I was looking here, my right side. So if your right bead is the one that's up higher, start with your right cord. If your left bead is up higher, start with your left cord. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to push these back into place. I'm just gonna wrap around so that the cord is going through here. So I'm gonna pick up my 2 strands and go underneath. So just for the first one, like that. Okay, so I wanna go between the first and second beads on both sides. So I'm taking my cord, I went underneath both of the middle strands that have the beads on them. And I'm going to go back over top of both of them and just go between those 2 beads like this. And then I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm just wrapping, all I'm doing is wrapping it around. So I'm wrapping it now under the next 2 beads. So these next 2 that are on each side, just like that. And then I'm gonna wrap it again around. So we're looking at now the 3rd bead on each of the strands. And I'm just wrapping it around the 2 middle cords. And I wanna pull it a little bit tight as I'm going here. So my beads are kind of scooting down on me, so I'm just gonna shift them back up here. Okay, so again, we're wrapping around. If I can get them to go back up where I need them, there we go. So around like this, and then the last bead, and this is normal for these to kind of drop out of place as you're working. And around. And you want to make sure all of them are pushed up into place. So again, all I was doing was taking that one cord and wrapping it all around them, and it's going between each of these kind of diagonal rows of beads. Once I get to the bottom, I'm going to take that cord and I'm gonna wrap it around both of the strings and just make a loop like that and tie it. So it just keeps that cord in place. Just one knot like that. Okay. So now what we're gonna do is the same thing, but the opposite direction with this last cord that we have here. So I'm going to go right over top between the first and the second bead, because now they're zigzag, so it's hard to tell which is on which row. So between the first and the second, wrap around, and now I'm going between the 3rd and the 4th. Now I'm going between the 5th and the 6th, between the 7th and the 8th, and between the 9th and the 10th. So now I have my cord going every direction through those beads, holding them all in place. And Once my cord ends up at the bottom, again, I'm just going to wrap it around and just tie it. There's no real wrong way to do this. You just want to make sure that that cord that you just brought down from the top is secure. Okay, so we have that tied off there. And all of the strands are secure. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take all of them and make a knot. So to do that, I gather all of them together, wrap them around my 2 fingers, and tuck it through like this, and pull the strands through to make a knot. And this knot will be at the very end of all the beads. So just like that. That will hold everything in place. Now, what I want to do is just like I did with this side here. If I can unclip. So I made a knot and then I left some space and made another knot. So I'm going to do that same thing, and I want them to match. So I want this knot to be right here. Again, I'm just going to gather all of the strands together, loop them around my 2 fingers, and tuck them through like this. And I'm going to pull it so that they match pretty well. Okay, about like that. Pull it tight, trim it off. You can use a lighter to burn the ends of these if you want to make sure they don't fray or come undone. That's highly suggested. Okay, so now that I have all of this done, the last thing I need to do is make my sliding connector. So to do that, I'm gonna take another 12 inches, 12 to 14 inches, it's more than what you'll need, of the cord. And you're going to, I'm gonna turn this sideways so you can see it. You're just going to overlap your 2 ends like this and kind of push them together. And to make the sliding connector, take your new piece of, your new cord here, and tie a knot just to get the string on there so that it stays like that. So what you're gonna do is you're alternating the way these strands kind of loop over and tuck under. So let me explain that. So I have my left strand here, and I'm going to loop it across like this. And I'm going over top of these pieces here. My right one, I'm going to loop it across, but I'm gonna go underneath my pieces like this. Let me cut this so it's a little easier to see. Okay, so I have one piece that's over top and one that's underneath. From here, I'm going to knot them together. So this piece that's underneath, I'm going to pull it through this loop, and this one that's over here, I want to pull it through this way and just pull it tight. I'm going to do that a couple more times so you can see. So again, one side goes over top of your pieces, one goes underneath. When you go underneath, go ahead and pull it through that loop you've made, and this one goes through this side. So it's like a pretzel. It is exactly like a pretzel. So when you pull it, again, it will make a little knot like that. So again, one side goes over, over top, one goes underneath. Okay, trying to get it so you can see it a little better. So one is over top, one's underneath. The one that's underneath, you can go ahead and pull through the loop. The one that's over top, tuck through that loop on that side. just like that, and pull them. I'm gonna do one more to show you. This is definitely one of the harder skills to explain to someone. So without just, you know, pausing it, rewinding it, going back, watching it closely, it is a little confusing. So, so again, one loops over top like this, one loops underneath. The one that's underneath, you pull through this loop right here. And before you pull it all the way, take this side and tuck it through this loop. Again, just like a pretzel, and pull it. Okay, so now that you have your knot, you're gonna trim, this is your slider knot, trim each side. Again, I would take a lighter and burn the ends. That will keep them from fraying and it will help them stay secure. But that is it. So now you have your little sliding knot there that's created. If you do not want these ends to be as long, you can certainly make them shorter. So instead of leaving so much space in between the first knot we created at the end of the beads and the very end, you can shorten that up. I just prefer them to be a little bit longer. So again, you can slide it back and forth. And I would definitely use your lighter and burn those ends so that it stays before you start adjusting it. So, so again, I'm going to include a link in the description below if you are interested in purchasing the kit to make this particular bracelet. But that is it for this tutorial. Thanks for watching, guys.